Good morning, Wall Street winners. It is Friday, February 21st. And as we look at the three U.S. indices today, you can see that the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 are in the green, only slightly for the S&P 500, but it's on a winning streak. The Dow is off about a little more than 0.5%, and the Nasdaq is up there about 0.38, 0.4%. Take a look at the news. There's some chatter around a new Mar-a-Lago Accord, which is something that we won't get into a ton of details today on, but it's basically an attempt by the new administration to start discussions on basically um, changing the global financial system from a long-term US bond and treasury perspective. So kind of the first we're hearing about this out of Mar-a-Lago, which is our new White House in the US, but we'll see what comes of that. All of this tying into those tariff and trade conversations. So I think that's a little bit unsettling for sure, and a cause for some caution, especially as we head into the end of February and into potentially tariff revisit time. March 2nd, with Canada and Mexico tariffs set to come in place at 25%. So a lot of unknown, and yet the VIX really isn't moving, in my opinion, to adjust with that unknown. But if we take a look at the Yahoo Finance app here, you can see that VIX has actually dropped this morning, 0.34, down into call them the low 15 range. The NASDAQ positive, the futures. The gold is kind of hovering. It's down a little bit, but I think it's near all-time highs there. Crude oil is off this morning. So crude was up yesterday. It's down today, below 72 a barrel. If we take a look at the stocks we follow, health and retail, um, both really getting kind of decimated here, primarily around shifts from the new administration. So concerns around Medicare, concerns around healthcare in the US, and concerns around tariffs for the retail sector. That's going to impact transport. So um, avoiding those sectors right now is what I am doing. In oil, oil's been on a bit of a comeback, but today looks like it's a bit of a pullback based on crude prices. I mean, one of the things the new administration is trying to do is keep energy prices low or make them lower. So, not sure how that's actually going to benefit oil these oil companies that are drilling and producing oil, but we'll have to see how that plays out in the greater scheme of things. The sector that seems to continue to ride ahead, and we're coming into a big week next week for it, is technology. And that big week really has to do with some key earnings out of some key players, the biggest of them being NVIDIA next Thursday. So, looking at the markets, Texas Instruments has made a huge comeback. I hope you've ridden that wave from its earnings drop to its now earnings recovery. I think Applied Materials is on the same path. So if you missed that wave back upwards on Texas Instruments, I think you've still got an opportunity to catch that wave with Applied Materials at 176. NVDL, obviously the ETF, the Greenwich Shares ETF, 2 to 1 for NVIDIA. It is up this morning because NVIDIA is up, not huge, but it is moving upwards. It's probably a good thing that Nvidia has not regained the ground that it lost in the deep seek dive that happened a few Mondays ago. And the reason I say that is because it's got more upward potential to move on a good earnings release. So um, if we were to have seen Nvidia, as we had with some other stocks prior to their earnings, run up, they could end up, even when they meet and even beat expectations on earnings and revenue, if they have any kind of concern around future forecasts or any statements around increased capex, can cause the stocks to fall. And we saw that in Google, we saw it in Microsoft, we saw it in a number of others, Amazon. Um, but when they're low going in, there's maybe more potential for a run up. So that's what I've seen from my experience. I can't say it's true every time, but I think that may be what we're experiencing here. Micron's going to announce later in March. So another one to keep an eye on. It dropped significantly on the DeepSeek AI announcement a couple Mondays ago. It's come back from the high 80s now up to the low 100s. It was at 106, 107 the other day. We'll see if it can make that ground back today. CrowdStrike, some of the cybersecurity firms that have done very well have pulled back as well. Reddit, which had less than great earnings, and the miss here was on user acquisition. And so they've been dropping, and I think they're completely overvalued. So I'd expect that to fall more. We're going to hear from CRM next week as well. So they announce in 5 days. I'm expecting some good things from them. And that's another stock that has pulled back from some recent highs. So there's some room for that to move upwards in the markets on a good earnings report. Scrolling down further, just looking at some other areas here. Arm's down at 150. It dropped into the 140s yesterday. I think that that could be an interesting buying opportunity. I think it will do well if Nvidia's results are positive. So I think it'll have some um, positive effects off of Nvidia's numbers by association. And then we've got Workday announcing next week in the low 260s. Again, a little bit of room to move here. So if you think that, I don't know what Workday's going to do. I don't know what any of these companies are going to do from an earnings and revenue and future forecast, but I think Workday's in a good position to beat and exceed. And then kind of uh, behind the scenes creeper is LRCX. It's just been creeping up behind the scenes over in the last week or so. This is a stock that's gone often in the opposite direction of other semis in the market. But it seems to be making a bit of a recovery, and some money seems to be moving into this right now. Could be off of their announcement to invest 1 billion in a facility in India and start production there, but that's not going to come online for quite some time. And then we've got AVGO, Broadcom. Again, it's announcing as well in 13 days, so into March. So we're going to be into tariff time, which is going to be pretty turbulent in that early March timeframe. But I expect some good numbers and some good future forecast out of AVGO or Broadcom as well. And they've recovered fairly nicely. I mean, they're not back to where they were pre DeepSeek announcement, but they've definitely made an upwards comeback from a stock price perspective. And then we've got Google. Google had great results, a great day yesterday, and it looks like it's up again close, like 60% of what it was up yesterday. So that's a big day for Baba, and Baba looks to be on a comeback. There you got Nvidia, the stock itself, not the ETF with NVDL. It is up slightly, only slightly in the pre-market, but I think it could catch a bid and it could start to move forward. I would expect that by earnings next week, this is going to be a $145 to $48 stock. And then upon a good earnings report and future forecast, which I do believe we're going to see, I think that NVIDIA could be up in the 160s. So we'll have to wait and see. It could be completely wrong on that, but I do believe that long term, NVIDIA is a super good company to be owning right now based on the market share they have and the dominance in that space. Google's another one that's been making a slower than expected recovery. It looks like it's up today in the pre-market. And then Adobe announces as well, but not for a little while. It's going to announce in on the 12th of March by the looks of things. So that'll be another one to keep an eye out for. They have really struggled with their AI story and defending their position in with the increase in competition from AI tools. So we'll have to see what happens there. One area I did dip my toe into yesterday and did well was Apollo. Apollo dropped down into the 154 area, bought some Apollo, sold it at close, made a little bit of money on that one. It looks like it's up pre-market today. I still like it in the high 150s. I think it's going to get into the 160, 170 range. I'm not going to say within the month, but certainly within the quarter. So there is some potential there. I'll keep an eye on what happens to that. And then for the most part, financials got a little clobbered yesterday and looks like they're making a bit of a comeback. Some of them certainly not recovering to what they lost yesterday, like JP Morgan down almost $12.50. It's up a buck 68. So not recovering to the extent that it went down yesterday, but it should in the long term. So that's where we are today in the markets. I wish you the best in your trades, and if you're liking these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button.